If you think you have already seen every strange wonder on Earth, these landscapes will make you question that belief. In China, there are natural phenomena and ancient formations that look as if they belong to another planet, where colors, shapes, and scale surpass ordinary imagination. Tidal waves rise like towering walls of water, salt lakes shine like endless mirrors, and crimson beaches stretch across the land like surreal carpets. Sacred peaks disappear into clouds, turquoise valleys glow under sunlight, vast deserts expand beyond the horizon, and roaring waterfalls complete scenes that seem almost unreal. This is a journey into China's wonders that don't seem real, where reality itself can feel more extraordinary than fiction. Fanjingshan, China. Splitting the rolling sea of clouds at 8,438 feet, this mountain stands like Earth's finger pointing directly at the galaxy, over 1,400,000,000 years old. Recognized by UNESCO as the most isolated metamorphic island on the planet, this wonder carries fossils older than even the majestic Himalayas. Upon two vertical stone peaks, split by a deep abyss, sit two ancient temples from the Ming Dynasty, challenging all laws of physics for 5 centuries. To connect these two spiritual worlds, a narrow stone bridge is perched across the chasm at over 8,200 feet, creating an overwhelming sight of suspension. The journey to reach the Bodhimanda of Maitreya Buddha forces travelers to overcome 8,888 steep stone steps, an ascetic challenge to cleanse the soul. At the holiest peak among China's 5 Buddhist sacred sites, the boundary between reality and the Pure Land seems to vanish completely amidst the white clouds. Qiantang River. Rising like a monster, this river carries the world's largest tidal bore, incarnating into a silver dragon, surging with destructive power from the deep sea to pounce on the mainland. This wrath is born from a topographical funnel, where a 62-mile-wide estuary is disastrously squeezed down to just 2 miles deep inland, amplifying its ruthless power. When millions of tons of water slam into the embankments, the massive reaction force hurls them into the sky, creating terrifying water bomb explosions up to 100 feet high. At the shoals, the ferocious current is torn in half and then slams into itself, forming a giant X shape that crushes everything caught in its epicenter. To protect their lives, the ancients used iron tenons to piece together massive stone blocks into a grand seawall system, considered as solid as the ancient Great Wall. Today, modern barriers must absolutely not be built flat, but must have a jagged or stepped shape to tear apart the water mass, because a vertical levee would be smashed to pieces instantly. Tree of Earth, Tibet, China. Bearing a magnificent paradox where the barren desert plateau at an altitude of 14,764 feet rejects all seeds of life, Mother Earth uses her own erosion wounds to sculpt a giant tree of earth. Instead of sprouting from seeds, this masterpiece has been torn apart for tens of thousands of years by the ruthless power of turbulent currents from melting ice and snow. The drainage network obeys a chilling fractal geometry ratio, carving roots 15 to 30 feet deep straight into the permafrost layer. Far beyond the design limits of any supercomputer, these blood-red-tinged crevices were once told in ancient legends as the claw marks of a divine dragon or the blood of the Creator. When winter's white snow fills the concave trenches, the tree transforms brilliantly into a pure white structure, glowing jaggedly against the pitch-black, desolate ground. Although creating greatness, the water current is a cold-blooded artist, constantly changing direction after every storm to tear away and ensure this masterpiece never repeats its old form. Hutuwan Village, China. Hutuwan Village shows what happens when nature slowly takes back a human settlement and turns it into a sea of green vines and thick leaves. In the 1980s, it was a prosperous fishing community with more than 3,000 residents and solid 3-story brick houses filled with daily life. From the 1990s to the early 2000s, families moved away step by step because the steep terrain made schooling and food transport difficult. There was no war or natural disaster, and the decline happened quietly over nearly a decade until the village stood empty. Narrow alleys and long stone stairways are blocked by roots and ferns, leaving a powerful vision of how the earth might look without human presence. Hukou Waterfall, China. Shattering all limits of dreamy, crystal-clear water ribbons, this monster roaring and boiling a massive block of muddy lava is the only and greatest yellow waterfall on the planet. Likened to the violent heartbeat of the Yellow River, the vast 984-foot riverbed is suddenly and ruthlessly choked into a steep, rocky crevice, narrowed down to only 65 to 98 feet. This life-or-death fracture forces the water mass to plunge into a 98-foot deep abyss, creating a terrifying, natural meat grinder with a peak flow rate reaching 282,000 cubic feet per second. The terrifying impact shattering at the bottom of the abyss shoots columns of water 164 feet straight up into the sky, creating the famous smoking water phenomenon that thrills the vision. Under the harsh sunlight, the thick muddy mist weaves brilliant rainbows across the roaring waterfall, bringing a perfectly contrasting beauty between violence and poetry. This treacherous abyss is also the origin of the great legend, where any carp swimming upstream and leaping over the waterfall's mouth will immediately turn into a sacred dragon soaring into the sky. years. Its role was once a vital stop on the ancient Silk Road, providing precious water sources that helped travelers cross the boundary between life and death. This survival mystery lies in the surrounding dunes, towering 820 feet high, creating reverse updrafts that constantly blow sand to the hilltops to protect the 328-foot-long lake. Not originating from rainwater, the lake's lifeblood is nourished by an underground river flowing through pebble layers from snow mountains hundreds of miles away. Once on the brink of obliteration, when the water hit rock bottom at only 3 feet in the 1990s, this wonder resiliently revived to witness the sight of traffic jams caused by thousands of camels every day. Right beside the cold emerald water, the ancient pavilion complex stands firm against skin-tearing sandstorms thanks to mortise and tenon joinery using not a single iron nail. Emerald Lake, China. Instead of a freshwater lake hidden in deep forests, Emerald Lake is a surreal masterpiece molded from the intersection of human hands and desert geology. Formerly scars from an industrial salt mining area, it accumulated extremely high concentrations of potassium and lithium to create a green hue so brilliant it seems absurd. Reigning at an altitude of 10,328 feet, the thin air of the plateau allows light to penetrate powerfully, igniting watercolors like scattered pieces of broken jade. With extreme salinity making it impossible for any creature to survive, the lake's surface becomes a world of absolute silence, perfectly reflecting the solitude of the wilderness. Pure white salt paths running through the heart of the lake are actually sturdy, crystallized artificial dams, separating hundreds of small ponds like a jade mosaic carpet. Under the scorching sun, light refraction through the salt layers creates surreal mirages that make salt flowers at the bottom of the deep lake appear as if they are floating in mid-air. Panjin Red Beach, China. Named a beach, but possessing no sand, this wonder is actually a biological sea of fire, burning brilliantly right in the heart of the deep blue ocean. This deep red hue is woven from the Suaita salsa plant, a strange organism that uses the toxic salt concentration of the soil as life sap to shine brilliantly. Accumulated by silt from China's fourth largest river, this wetland of over 64,247 acres serves as a colossal chemical map indicating the alkalinity of the ground. To preserve the fragile velvet carpet, a wooden bridge system over 6,562 feet long is erected on deep pillars, allowing humans to glide over the mudflats without causing any harm. The scenery becomes even more surreal as extremely rare, red-crowned cranes with only about 2,500 individuals left globally soar over the vivid red background like a living ink-wash painting. However, this moment of glory only exists for a brief 3 weeks each year before transforming back into a dull and grey mudflat. Jiuzhaigou, China. Instead of an ocean, Jiuzhaigou forms its own world of blue colors among ancient limestone mountains in China. The waterfalls do not crash straight down, but flow gently over natural limestone terraces, creating wide and soft layers of water. The lakes shift from emerald to sapphire and deep green within a small area, depending on light and depth. Fallen trees do not rot because minerals cover them, turning the wood into pale structures resting beneath the clear water. Its surreal beauty has made it a filming location for famous Chinese movies. However, because of high mineral levels, the water cannot be drunk directly, and almost no fish survive in the main lakes. Tengger Desert, China. In the middle of a vast sea of golden sand, the Tengger Desert protects more than 400 deep blue lakes like islands of life in a dry world. Covering about 16,600 square miles, it is the fourth largest desert in China and stretches across 3 major administrative regions. Around these lakes grow bright green grass and shrubs, forming a sharp boundary between intense life and dry, barren land. Many crescent-shaped dunes rise up to about 650 feet high, looking like giant ocean waves frozen by the wind. In ancient times, this area formed part of a major trade corridor where caravans risked extreme conditions to cross the sands. To stop the movement of sand, people built large straw grid systems across thousands of acres, creating an ecological structure that protects key transportation routes. Mount Hua, China. Not for the faint of heart, Mount Hua stands like a giant granite axe blade splitting the sky, where courage is measured by every breath beside the abyss. Located at an altitude of 7,070 feet, this sacred mountain, representing the West, possesses 90-degree vertical cliffs flattened by intense geological faults from millions of years ago. On unbelievably narrow ledges, ancient temples from the Tang and Song dynasties still stand perched amidst the clouds, challenging all laws of physics. Travelers face extreme fear when moving on rock ledges only 1 foot wide, where the boundary between life and nothingness is just a hand span away. As sunset falls, the entire cliff reflects brilliant light, making the giant stone block look as if it were cast in solid gold, floating in a sea of white clouds. To touch this summit, you need 6 to 9 hours of arduous hiking to overcome exhaustion and find absolute peace in mid-air. Wangxian Valley, China. Wangxian Valley looks like a fantasy world brought into real life, with clusters of houses gripping a cliff as if gravity does not apply. It was once a damaged granite quarry with heavy pollution. Then nearly $400 million were invested, and the site was restored for 10 straight years. The buildings take ideas from stilt homes but have no ground foundation because massive steel anchors are drilled into the mountain and disguised with traditional wooden joint design. To create an old and natural look, builders avoid paint and use rammed earth methods, mixing local yellow soil with straw and covering the suspended frames. From the valley floor, thousands of gray tile roofs stacked like giant bird nests, making the place feel like a hanging city. At night, warm lantern light fills the mist, and staying on a cliff-edge room with strong wind and waterfall noise can cost far more than luxury hotels on the lowlands. Chaka, Salt Lake, China. Completely obliterating the boundary between earth and heaven, this wonder is not a modern glass tower, but a giant salt basin located at an altitude of 10,036 feet. At an altitude of over 10,000 feet, extremely low air pressure keeps the water surface abnormally still, turning an area of 41 square miles into an absolute and pure reflective mirror. With a massive reserve of 496 million tons of salt, this white gold mine is sufficient to provide seasoning for billions of consumers for the next 75 years. In the heart of the lake appear magnificent sculptures carved from solid salt, impermanent architectural works that constantly melt and transform under the influence of rain and wind. When night falls, the lake surface turns into a grand lens reflecting the entire Milky Way, making you feel as if you are floating in the center of billions of stars surrounding you. However, this beauty carries high damage as the white salt reflects 90% of ultraviolet rays, causing tourists to suffer sunburn twice as fast as in normal environments. Qiandao Lake, China. Far from a typical lake, this man-made wonder is a giant green labyrinth where over 1,000 islands bob like scattered jade pieces in a freshwater ocean. With 1,078 islands across 221 square miles, it has the world's densest island concentration with a forest cover ratio of over 90%. The water here is so pure, it meets direct drinking standards on the spot, serving as a precious supply for the nation's leading bottled water brand. However, the most striking secret lies at a depth of 131 feet, where two 1,800-year-old ancient cities still sleep intact like an eastern Atlantis. To create this magnificent beauty, more than 290,000 people had to abandon their homeland, leaving all memories and houses beneath the cold deep. Qiandao Lake is a testament to the trade-off between industrial progress and historical preservation, where a brilliant present reigns directly upon the foundation of the past. Furong Ancient Town, China. Furong Ancient Town is built as if it hangs over a waterfall, clinging to a steep cliff instead of flat ground. With more than 2,000 years of history and once serving as a major trading center in the region. The town center is split by a natural two-tier waterfall, about 131 feet wide, with a vertical drop of about 196 feet, pouring into a deep river day and night. Traditional wooden stilt houses stand along the cliff without iron nails, using complex wooden joints anchored into the reversed slope for stability. More than 5 miles of smooth blue stone streets twist and rise with the sharp mountain gradient, leaving almost no truly flat surface. A carved walkway runs directly behind the curtain of water, allowing visitors to pass through darkness and roaring spray inside the town. When tens of thousands of red lanterns glow at night and create a magical scene like the film Spirited Away, the thunder of the waterfall becomes a calm white noise that gently lulls local residents to sleep. Mogao Caves, China. Buried in the barren desert, the Mogao Caves are a brilliant artistic universe and humanity's greatest visual encyclopedia, painted continuously for 1,000 years. Viewed from the outside, the cliff face, nearly 1 mile long, is crisscrossed with hundreds of dark holes stacked together exactly like a giant honeycomb rooted in the sea of sand. Hidden deep inside are over 484,376 square feet of murals and 2,000 clay statues, enough to form a gallery stretching nearly 30 miles. Due to the crumbly gravel walls, the ancients had to drive wooden stakes and wrap straw as skeletal frames before applying clay to shape the lifelike statues defying time. This magnificent beauty is adorned with expensive crushed mineral powders like cinnabar red or lapis lazuli blue, whose value far exceeded solid gold. Stepping into the narrow space engulfed in strict darkness to look up at the 114-foot Buddha statue, travelers will be completely subdued by a deeply reverent visual pressure. Mati Temple Grottoes, China. Breaking all norms of a sturdy constructed building, this spiritual complex is a massive system hollowed out directly into a vertical red sandstone cliff. Perched at an altitude of 8,200 to 9,186 feet, this precarious wonder leans right against the edge of eternal snow and ice peaks. Diligently created by dozens of generations of stonemasons 1,600 years ago, this magnificent horsehoof name originates from the legend of a heavenly horse descending to leave a permanent hoofprint on the cliff. Crossing all boundaries, this place became a rare sanctuary in the world, featuring a brilliant blend of Tibetan Buddhism and Han Buddhism within the same cave system. To reach the highest pagoda levels hidden inside the mountain core, travelers cannot walk upright but must crawl close to the ground, clinging with all four limbs to sweat-soaked, near-vertical stone steps. Despite its magnificent beauty, the soft sandstone material that made carving easy turns this suspended wonder into a conservation nightmare against the terrifying weathering speed of the mountain winds. Kalajun Grassland, China. Completely erasing the definition of flatness, this wonder is a three-dimensional grassland suspended on the Tianshan Mountains at an altitude of 6,500 to 11,800 feet. Spreading over 1,100 square miles, the prairie surface rolls with continuous undulating geological folds from fierce, ancient tectonic faults. The endless green carpet is suddenly torn by canyons thousands of feet deep, perfectly displaying four spectacular ecological layers from snow peaks to jade rivers. Under the slanting sunlight, the hills cast shadows that create smooth, graceful curves exactly like a masterpiece sculpture of the human body by nature. In early summer, the grass bursts brilliantly with over 100 wildflower species blooming into 5 successive waves of color, reaching out to the horizon. This place was also the source of the blood-sweating, heavenly horses, a treasure that ancient emperors defied all bloody wars to possess. Mount Kailash, Tibet, China. More than just a simple stone peak, Mount Kailash is the untouchable axis of the universe at an altitude of 21,778 feet, where no human footprint has ever reached the sacred summit. This convergence point of 4 major religions bears chilling coordinates, being exactly 4,142 miles away from both Stonehenge and the North Pole, creating a mysterious mathematical coincidence. Upon the dark grey cliffs, nature has skillfully carved a massive staircase leading to heaven, alongside an eternal swastika symbol appearing clearly under the sunset. At the foot of the mountain, the balance of the universe is revealed through 2 lakes sitting side by side, where one remains sweet and still, while the other rages with salty waves. Transcending all physical limits, completing 108 pilgrimage circuits around the sacred mountain is believed to be the only key to helping humans reach the realm of ultimate enlightenment. Namtso Lake, Tibet, China. Known as the sea on top of the sky, this wonder is not just a simple body of water, but a place where the human soul can touch the absolute purity of the universe. At an altitude of 15,479 feet, this highest salt lake in the world is a sacred pilgrimage site, helping travelers cleanse their karma through every step around its shore. Spreading over 741 square miles with a depth of up to 394 feet, the deep blue lake is like a 40-floor building submerged under thick sapphire water. On windless days, the still water reflects the great snow mountains with absolute precision, completely blurring all boundaries of the horizon. Its wild beauty is evident through places of worship hidden within natural limestone cliffs and the silhouettes of snow-white yaks dotting the lake shore. However, this stargazing paradise is also harsh, as low oxygen levels and intense ultraviolet rays can burn skin in just 30 minutes. '99 Bend Road to Tianmen Mountain, China. Resembling a giant white dragon, winding its way up to the nine heavens, this crazy masterpiece was carved alive into 90-degree vertical cliffs. Carrying the divine number 99 symbolizing the nine heavens, the road leads mortals straight from the lower world to the fairy realm. However, the road to paradise is full of danger, with 180-degree hairpin turns so tight they choke you, stacked on top of each other like slices of sandwich meat. On days covered in fog, the road surface completely disappears, making vehicles look like they are gliding in the clouds, full of eerie and magical beauty. To create these legendary 7 miles, thousands of workers had to hang suspended on the cliffs for 8 long years, betting their lives against death. The drama reached its peak when an SUV not only climbed all the asphalt, but also crazily drove straight up 999 steep steps to pass through the Heaven Gate. Sichuan-Tibet Highway, China. Likened to the world's cruelest elevator, this journey forces travelers to climb a total accumulated altitude of over 65,600 feet, equivalent to 2.5 times Mount Everest. At mountain peaks, oxygen concentration drops by half, causing car engines to lose 40% of their power, while the human brain swells in hammer-like headaches. The real nightmare manifests through 99 hairpin turns stacked like intestines, dropping nearly 6,600 feet in altitude in just a short distance. Overcoming danger, the landscape opens up to immense grasslands running endlessly, where black yak herds appear like musical notes on a giant carpet. Nature is even so magical that eternal glaciers crawl down right to the road's surface, allowing you to touch million-year-old blue ice blocks. However, the harshness and deprivation here have caused many couples to break up, because only when facing endurance limits is the true nature of humans exposed.